Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Ramos Podcast. My name is Tochukwu of Ramos, and today we are going to be talking land titles and what it means for you as a potential homeowner or a potential landowner. And to discuss that with me, I have the business manager at Ramos Realty, Joshua Odinma. Joshua, what's up, man?
I'm good.
I mean, business manager at Ramos, man, that's a huge responsibility.
Yeah, I know. It's not easy.
It's not easy.
Yeah,
Right. So, as business manager, you are very knee deep into the sales of homes and houses,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anybody more qualified to have this conversation with than you. So thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Although you didn't have a choice, our guy said, "Come here." All right. So, people have been asking, what are the different kinds of titles, or what is the best kind of title to have when you're buying a land or buying a home, and that's because there have been cases of people, who bought land, and eventually they find out that, the land we didn't buy, you don't get K-leg, that they can't, that they're being, the land is being repossessed from them either by the government or by the previous owners.
Yes.
So, we just want to have that conversation so that anybody who watches or listens to this would know how to prepare themselves, right? So we're just going to go straight into it. In selling a home, what is the best title that could be on that property?
The best title is the governor's consent.
Right. Well, what does that mean?
So when you buy a land let me explain the titles for you so that you can understand. So the first one is the C of O, certificate of occupancy.
Right.
And it's just given to one person. You can't have two C of O.
Okay.
So the person that has the C of O are always the first occupants of that land, right? So when you buy a land from those first occupants, you have to do we call it perfection. You have to perfect the title.
Right.
So that's getting the governor's consent.
Okay.
So that what you explained earlier about people
people getting their land taken from them.
Or resold. Yeah, because they didn't do consent.
Oh, right.
Yes. So if you don't do consent, the government don't recognize your whatever transaction you have with the family as legal. So if they can choose to sell it to 10 people and also that way it's really advisable that if you are buying a land, try and get the consent so that they can resell it.
Right.
Another problem with not getting a consent is if you are to resell, the person you are selling to will still have to get the signature of the first people you bought it from.
Right.
That's the first occupant.
Right.
But once you've done this governor consent, once you have your governor consent,
you can sell the land.
Yes.
Or sell
you
the
just
house.
need to sign. You will not be the one that will sign for them.
Right.
Yes.
So I mean, there are some other documents. For example, some called the Global C of O. Is that different from the certificate of occupancy?
Not really. So most time when you get global C of O is when maybe an individual or a company purchase a lot of land. Yeah. So they get a general C of O for it.
So a general C of O for that whole, let's say an estate.
Yes.
And then maybe if you buy 2 plots or something, then you get a C of O.
A C of O, yes.
Right. But the original purchasers of that huge block of land will hold the global C of O. So I mean, in instances where people want to buy houses, what are the steps that they would usually take to ensure that they are making the right decisions and buying land that will not be taken from them or houses that will not be taken from them eventually? Okay,
so we usually advise them, we'll try and as much as possible to tell these developers to try to get the consent before they build. It's usually very easy because if you want to buy, what the lawyer does is he does a search at Alausa.
Right.
Yeah, with the consent number. So when he does the consent number, you have the details of the land, where the developer bought the land from, everything you need to know about.
Is there?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why. So in a situation whereby the developer didn't have maybe a consent, some developer don't have consent. So we'll make developer to sign a document that states that when when the buyer is ready to go ahead with his what's it called, to get his own governor consent.
Right.
He sign a document that he will be the one that will run around with the family that he bought the land from and all.
Right. So the developer who did not get the original consent
will
be the one to carry that burden.
Yes. Or what the lawyer can also do is the lawyer will do a deed between the person that is buying and the person that the developer bought the land from. Yes. Because like I explained earlier, if you don't have a consent, you don't have the right to sell.
To resell.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's it.
Right. So what assistance does Ramos Realty offer to people who want to buy houses? Because we're mostly in the business of selling houses. So what kind of assistance, if somebody wants to buy a house from Ramos Realty, what kind of assistance will they expect to get from?
So we try to verify the documents for the person. Sometimes they can, some clients they have a lawyer that they trust, right? Yeah. So, but if they don't, we provide the lawyer for them. But before we even get to the lawyer part, we try to confirm the documents that the developer has before we can before we can push the house to the client. So yeah, that's how we assist people.
Right. So have you ever had an instance where the right title or the wrong title was given, or there was like an issue with the sale, and how did you, if ever that happened, how did you sort that out?
Okay, we've had instant, but the deed didn't go through anyways. So what happened was that the name we saw in the document, the developer gave us a name. Then when we went to do the search, we saw that it was not the same name, right? Oh. Yeah, it was not the same name. So that one didn't go through. That's why I said we try as much as possible to do all the investigation before we sell house.
Before you sell the house.
Yes.
Wow, that's awesome. So I mean,
there's also another instance whereby this one happens a lot in Naija.
In Naija?
Yes. I'll mention the estate.
You want to buy a house in Naija?
I'll mention the estate.
Listen to this podcast.
So
this is for you.
When we did the search, we saw everything. The house has like governor consent and all. Right. But when we now did the survey, when we picked the survey detail, I don't know how they usually call it.
Beacons?
Yeah, the beacons and all.
Beacon numbers.
Yes. Yeah. We saw that it was in different name. Oh. Yes, it happens also.
So what happened? This sounds like did somebody get arrested?
No, nobody got arrested. We didn't just go through with the details.
Right, because it just looked kind of dubious and shady. Right. So I mean, in a case where somebody maybe buys a land that was resold or doesn't have the right title, or your land has issues, what steps would you advise for them to take?
So when you say issues, what do you mean by issues? Like maybe people are trying to reclaim the land.
People are trying to reclaim the land.
So if you are buying a land, one of the most important documents you have to get is deed of assignment. So that's the deed that transfers the ownership. So in a case where you don't have governor consent, you can put that as evidence in case if you want to go to court. But then most time you can't win if you don't do a consent because, like I explained earlier, to government that was not illegal.
That's the most. Yes. That's the document that they care about.
Yes, to the government, that whatever transaction you have with them was not legal. Because you didn't legalize it. With the consent. With the consent, yes. Right. So, but that's your only proof. Your deed of assignment that they sign. I say, okay, you present it to the court and say, this is the document they gave me. This is their signature and all. But it depends on your lawyer. You might win, you might not win.
So to avoid stories that touch. The best advice you can give anybody who wants to buy a house or land is make sure that you get the governor's consent.
Yes. So for house, make sure you have governor consent to avoid issues. But for land, most land don't have governor consent. So make sure that after buying,
you get
do your survey plan and get the governor consent.
All right.
Yes.
All right. I mean, that's a very brief but very insightful conversation. So basically, what we've learned is that if you want to buy a piece of land, make sure you get your
C of O. And try as much as possible to perfect the the title.
Yeah.
Try and get a consent for it.
And then if you're buying a house, make sure that you get your governor's consent.
No, make sure it has a governor's consent.
Yes, make sure it has a governor's consent.
Save a lot of stress.
And basically, use a trusted realtor.
Yes.
Because there's some people who will know that, this land has issues or something, and they'll still go ahead and sell it to you. But, if you have a trusted realtor, they would put you through and, give you the best advice. So, thank you, Joshua. I know you can't wait to run off and sell some houses.
That's true. We don't have time. So always on the road.
Always on the road.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you for doing the podcast with us. And thank you so much for watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify. Don't forget that we drop podcast episodes every week. So please subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified every time that we drop a new video. My name is Tuchuku of Ramos. Yes. Ramos. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah.
All right.
Big Jakes.
Big Jakes.
Say it.